All right, I think live. Yep, it looks like everything's kicked off. I think we're good. So let me do my normal disclosure, get those out of the way. We'll jump right into it. This is a weekly live broadcast. Pretty much every Thursday evening, 7 o'clock Central is where I am. I do my best to respond to all the chat that comes in during the broadcast itself. So if you have a question you want to get answered, you wanted to talk to me about something, whatever, this is a great place to do it. Like I said, pretty much every Thursday, 7 o'clock Central Time, this is where I am, and I respond to pretty much every one of the chats that comes through. So as far as like etiquette for the chat, just be polite, be friendly. Don't be cussing anybody. Be family friendly, I should say. Don't cuss anybody. Don't call anybody names. Don't, none of that kind of stuff. Keep it civil. We can have disagreements. We can talk about controversial topics. I really don't care. I don't believe you should hate somebody or be angry with somebody because they have a different opinion than you. We can talk about things like religion and politics if you want to. I don't really care about that either. It's fine with me. But again, don't hate anybody because they have a different opinion than you. Just be polite and be friendly with everybody. That's all I ask. All right, let's jump into it. We've got Michael Vincent here was a first comment. Said, update, moved all my roosters out of my quail pen and now getting 2 eggs from 4 hens a day. Okay, so, well, you're getting, I guess that's more eggs, right? I can't remember exactly what we talked about last time, but I vaguely remember. There's a whole lot that was going on last time, so don't forgive me for not remembering every little detail. But anyway, excuse me. So it sounds like I'm having apparently a little bit of a problem here. Let me grab a drink. All right, compose myself. There we go. Sounds like you're getting a little bit of an improvement in your egg production. If I remember right, last time I think you weren't getting any improvement. So you said you moved all the roosters out of your quail pen. I don't remember how many rooster to quail, rooster to hen ratio. I don't remember what your rooster to hen ratio was. If you had too many roosters in there, that may have been an issue with them not laying because it's probably stressing them out. So yeah, sounds like things are going a little bit better for you. Give them a little bit of time. I'm sure you'll start getting more eggs out of them than just the 2. If you've got 4 hens in there, you should be getting probably pretty close to 4 eggs before you know it. Joy says, hello all from Western Oregon. My New Zealand white doe actually had 8 kits. All are growing fast. She is a great mom. Well, that is fantastic. Congratulations on that. Glad to hear that they are doing well. There's Verna. Said, hey, Chris, 4th like. Penny Byington, I think it is, says, hi, Chris. Hello to you, too. Thank you for joining us. Hogwaller Creek from Travelers Rest, South Carolina. Hello to you. Andy, hey, Chris. Any luck turkey hunting? Nope. Not. I took Monday off. It was opening day of turkey season for us. I don't think the turkeys were on the property we were hunting that day because we didn't hear a single one, didn't see a single one, and they've extended the season now. It used to be you could only hunt in Missouri until 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And now if you're on private property, which we are, you can hunt until sunset. We didn't stay quite till sunset. We did take a break in the middle of the day, went to lunch, came back, walked around, called some more, but never located a single turkey all day long. That's the way it goes. That's why they call it turkey hunting, not turkey shooting, right? But yeah, we got 2 more weekends. If it's not just storming all weekend long, I'll try to get out this weekend, but we'll see. Cindy from Minnesota, good to see you. There's Caesar says, hey, Chris, how did your turkey hunt turn out? Well, I think that Andy beat you to it, so you already heard the story. Wasn't great, but it was okay. It's still good to get out. Andy Rabbit's here. Good to see you. Hogwaller Creek says, home of Pepsi, huh? Yeah, well, I'm a soda pop junkie for sure, and Pepsi is my one of choice. Let's see. Sax Place says, hey, Chris and everyone, Southwest Ohio checking in. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. Buck Reynolds, hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. I'm doing well. Hopefully you are too. Let's see what we got here. George says, well, 2 long weekends in a row. Hello, hello, all. Good to see you, George. Thank you for making it tonight. I guess it's not tonight for you. It's morning for you or daytime, middle of the day. But either way, you made it twice in a row. That's awesome. Life Done Cheap with Lee says, hello, everyone. My doe had her kits on the 22nd. She had 11 for her first litter, lost the runt today, 30 grams. Okay, so she had 11. Let me reread it. Yeah, 11. That's a big litter. Well, congratulations, first of all. And If you have usually if you have more than 10, you're going to lose one or two of them at least, whether there's a runt in the bunch or not. So don't feel bad about that. That's completely normal. It's just a lot for the mom to take care of and make sure she's getting everybody fed. And especially a first-time mom, that's fantastic. So congratulations there. Bev Smith says, hello, everyone. Hello to you, too. Don says, hey, Chris and everyone from South Central Illinois, 8th like. Thank you. Thanks for the like, too. I appreciate that. Belisha at a different kind of farm, okay, says, I have one hen, 2 laying eggs. Wait. I have only one hen laying eggs daily. I had to move her because the others were picking on her. Now she is laying daily, and they are doing nothing. All are 8 weeks old. Well, at 8 weeks old, I mean, that's right at about the time they should start laying. So if all the factors are right, you say you moved her, she's laying eggs now, which is unusual. Usually when you move a bird, they quit laying for a little while, but, who knows? I don't know if there's some kind of other stress factor that's going on there. If you move the other birds around or not, that'll keep them from laying a little bit, but they'll pick back up if you just get them, let them settle into their location. Got 14 hours a day of light. They'll pick back up laying in no time, I'm sure. Alan says, good evening, Chris, and all. Happy Friday Eve. Yeah, no kidding. Good evening to you, too. Thanks for joining. Let's see where we at here. Verna says, I'm a little slow tonight as I'm making playarn. I don't know what that is. Playarn. I don't know what that is. Never heard of that before. Bill Cox says, hey, Chris. Well, hello to you, too. Hogwaller Creek says, Pepsi was born in the Carolinas. I'm a Pepsi guy, too. I didn't know that. You learn something new every day, huh? Yeah, I mean, I don't really dislike Coke. If I go somewhere and, I order Pepsi and they have Coke, that's fine. I don't care. Caramel colored cola flavored beverage is what I'm after. But Pepsi is really the one that when I buy it for myself, I buy Pepsi. Speaking of, let me grab a drink of it. Let's see. The Aquatic News Network says, howdy, Earthlings. Hello to you, too. Thanks for joining. See, Jake Martin says, hey, Chris, would you ever try doing a DIY egg incubator example cooler with 40-watt light bulb and Inkbird temperature controller? It would be interesting to see how it fares. Would be interesting vid. Yeah, I may consider doing that at some point. That's a good suggestion. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. Yeah, I may look into doing that. When I was a kid, we had my grandpa built an incubator. It was basically a small wooden box with a plexiglass front, and had an incandescent bulb in it. I don't remember what size. I was pretty young. And we used a dimmer switch to control the temperature. So just turn it, dim the light to get it cooler, turn it. And we hatched chicken eggs out in it. I don't remember like how many eggs we set and how many we hatched, but I do remember we actually hatched them. So it worked, but probably not the best. But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll give it a try at some point. We'll see. Let's see. Belisha says, let's see. Will the first few eggs be fertile, or it takes a while if they're mating before the eggs are fertile? What should I do with these first few eggs if I'm not sure if they are fertile or not? Okay, so I don't remember exactly what we were talking about. Like previous, I remember we talked already. You had a comment already. I don't remember exactly what we were talking about, how many eggs you're getting or anything like that. Generally speaking, when the birds start laying eggs, I usually give them a week or two before I start collecting for incubating. But you can check your fertility pretty easily. Just take the eggs, crack a few of them open. If you're not sure if they're fertile, this is a good thing to do anyway. If you got the scissors, it's the easiest way to do it. Cut the end of the shell off, dump the egg out. Look at the yolk. There's a white dot on the yolk itself. Now that doesn't necessarily mean it's fertile. That just means that it's a mature egg and it could be fertilized. And what you're looking for is that bullseye ring. It's going to be a faint dark ring around that white spot. If you see that, that's a fertile egg. And you can eat that. I mean, it's not going to hurt you at all. In fact, you probably eat fertile eggs all the time, don't even know about it. Then you can just fry that egg up if you want to, or scramble them, make scrambled eggs, do whatever you want to, and eat the eggs. That's kind of how I would do it when you start getting a pretty high amount of fertility in your eggs, like I said, probably a week or two, when most of your eggs are fertile, start collecting, start incubating. Hopefully that answers your question. George says, my birds never stop laying when I move them around. I think they're used to being played with. Well, that could be it too. If you handle your birds a whole lot, it probably does kind of desensitize them to that. But generally moving birds from one, location to another, or one cage to another, or something like that, will stress them out a little bit and they'll stop laying, but just for a short time, like maybe a week. Bill Cox says, would 18 jumbo wilds be too many for a Winola Ranch cage? I don't think so. I can't remember what size the Winola Ranch cage is, so that would help. But I think 18 should fit in there pretty easily. I don't think it'd be anywhere near too much. Belisha saying, hello, everyone. Well, hello again. Verna says, plastic yarn, recycled grocery bags to crochet into other things. Oh, okay, I gotcha. Okay, I have seen people do that before. Sax Place says, hatched 12 to 30 quail from Gopher Ridge last week. 7 fully developed. No hatch. Another 6 had some development, but not sure what I'm doing wrong. So you hatched 12 of 30. So yeah, a little bit low on your hatch rate. Have you calibrated your incubator? That's the first question. Have you thrown a couple of thermometers inside there? See what they read compared to what your incubator reads. Make sure they're calibrated and accurate, of course. And I always say get multiple, at least 2, because if one reads one way and your incubator reads another way, you don't know which one's right. But if you have 2, and any 2 of those 3, your incubator and the 2 thermometers, if any of those 2 or 3, 2 of the 3 read the same temperature, you can pretty much bet that's probably the accurate one. Usually poor hatch rates are a temperature issue. If your incubator is reading temperature correctly and adjusting the thermostat correctly for the temperature, then, is it in a drafty place? Is it in a window where the sun's beating down on it? Any of those kinds of things that could be impacting it. That's the first place to look. That's usually the issue. So we'll see if you got some responses to that, and we'll see if we can troubleshoot it a little bit further. Verna says to Bill Cox, 18 jumbos is what I had in each Winola Ranch cage. And if they are community cages, yeah, I would think it would be plenty. Andy Rabbit says, we got done putting the quail wall up. Maybe Saturday or Sunday, we will get the roof up if it doesn't rain. Yeah, it's raining here right now, so it's probably coming your way. You're probably going to get it. Our forecast says rain like every day for until next Tuesday. Every day it's looking like rain. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to rain nonstop all day every day either. Don says, yeah, that's nice, to Andy Rabbit. That's nice. I have rain coming today and tomorrow. Grr. Yeah, we do too. And Saturday and Sunday and Monday and Tuesday, maybe Wednesday. I haven't seen that far ahead yet. See, Belisha says, thanks for the answer. I'm at work tonight, sneaking in and out of the comments, LOL. Hey, no problem. You can always rewatch later if you missed something. You can kind of see what maybe we said to it. Cindy Rapp says, Jacob, I did that last year. 176 quail eggs hatched out of 164 quail. You did what? What did you do? Did I miss a comment from Jacob? I don't even see one. Did I respond to it? Did I miss it? Oh, the DIY incubator. That's what you're talking about. Okay. You did it last year and you hatched 164 out of 176 eggs. That's not bad. That's pretty good, actually. So promising, huh? Andy Rabbit says, I hope we don't get rain until I get it done. Yeah, I don't blame you there. Jacob says, that's great. I may have to try and build one. Talking about a homemade incubator, huh? Now I hear, and I haven't seen it, I need to look it up probably, but I hear that Terry has a DIY incubator, like Terry from Katernick's Corner has a DIY incubator build, and I guess it's pretty good. I don't know. Like I said, I haven't actually watched it because I've never really considered building my own incubator, but it's a thought. Let's see. Katrina says, hi, I have several 3-week-old chicks with pink backs. They have had this issue for at least a week. Any ideas of the cause? 3-week-old chicks with pink backs. Do they have no feathers at 3 weeks old? They should be feathered out pretty well. So are you saying they don't have any feathers and their backs are pink? Good question. I don't know right offhand. Other birds picking on them maybe? What's the protein level in your feed? Is it really low protein? Are they trying to pull feathers to get protein? I don't know. There could be a number of different things there, but nothing jumps to my mind right offhand. And if they are, if they're still in the brooder and you got a heat lamp on them and they aren't feathered out real well, that may be part of what's causing it. I don't know if it's anything to worry about as long as they're moving around fine, eating and drinking. I mean, it should be okay. But the question, I guess, would be why are they not feathered out already at 3 weeks old? Hogwaller Creek says, I loaded the incubator with about 175 bob white quail tonight. Well, good luck with that hatch. I hope it goes well. Let's see. Ramen. Is it ramen or Raymond? I'm not sure if I've got it right. Pronouncing it right. Is that a Japanese name? Looks like it. Hard last name to pronounce. Anyway, says, hey, Chris, what mid-sized rabbit breeds would you recommend with the same maternal instincts as compared to the larger breeds? I can't say that I've got a whole lot of experience. In fact, I don't have really any experience with mid-size rabbit breeds. Now, I hear Florida whites are a fantastic option for a mid-size rabbit if you want a meat rabbit. So that would probably be one that I would recommend, although I don't have personal experience with them. I'm just going based on what I've heard. Somebody else in the comments might be able to or in the chat, might be able to speak to that a little bit better than I can. George says, we've got jumbo white that is super friendly, or a jumbo white that's super friendly, literally lies on his back in the palm of your hand. And when you stroke her stomach, her legs drop down like landing gear, LOL. Yeah, that's way more friendly than any of my quail are. I don't handle mine a whole lot, so they don't really get super tame. They're not necessarily scared of me, but they wouldn't. I don't think they'd lay down on their back in my hand. I think they would probably be like, no, I'd rather go back in the cage. Thank you. Cindy Rapp says the new light bulbs don't work at all. We have an old feed store here and was able to get light bulbs from 10 years ago, LOL. Yeah, well, the new ones are LEDs. So, yeah, you're right. They're not going to produce. You need an incandescent bulb to get it to produce heat. So those are going to be hard to find right now. You're right. I think they phased them out. I don't think you can even buy them anymore, can you? Unless you have a really old feed store somewhere that has them. George says, let's see, it'll be hard to dispatch her when the time comes. Yeah, it would be difficult for sure. It's one of the reasons why I don't worry about trying to tame up all my birds and all that kind of stuff. It's much easier to process when they're a little bit on the wild side. Verna says, George, you don't butcher your breeders. She is safe for a couple of years. Yeah. Bev Smith says, I hate to whine, but could you please send some of that rain down here to Florida? I don't know that we've had a drop of rain in the past couple of weeks, and it's already high 80s, low 90s. It's too early for summer. Yeah. Well, if I could, I would send some your way for sure. George says, I agree, Verna, but in a couple of years, I still have to dispatch her. Yep, and time always comes, right? Sax Place says, Chris, I have the manual adjustable thermometer, used ice water / boiling water to adjust, then added 2 other digitals along with the incubator. I think the incubator had cold spots as a manual therm would swing 3 to 4 degrees. 3 to 4 degrees. That's a little bit. That's not terribly bad, but that is a little bit. That could be causing some of your issues. Like you said, if you don't have a fan, like a circulating forced air, what you call an incubator, that could be part of it. Hot and cold spots in there aren't unheard of for sure. Verna says, let's see, Bev, the way the weather is, the seasons do not know how to act anymore. It does seem like our seasons have changed a little bit and kind of shifted a little bit. It gets warmer here anyway. It seems like it gets warmer a little bit later in the year. It gets colder a little bit. But yeah, everything's kind of shifted. It gets colder a little bit later, stays colder for a little bit longer, gets warmer a little bit later in the year for us. Verna says the pink backs can be because of too much heat and sunburned. Yeah, they could be. It could be that for sure. Let's see. Katrina says I have game bird feed from Runnings. Not sure what the protein level is. If it's game bird feed and not game bird starter, it could be low protein. And if it's really low, and I'm saying like below 20%, well, even for babies though, if it's just right at 20%, you know, for young birds growing, they need more protein than adult birds do. You really want that up probably closer to 25% or above if you can get it there. If it's much lower than that and they're starving for extra protein, that can lead to them pulling feathers. And then, you know, that could contribute also to the pink backs on them. And I'm assuming they're not really feathered out very well because otherwise you wouldn't see their skin to know it was pink. Berna says Havana rabbits are great if you want a smaller meat rabbit. There you go. Katrina says, yeah, it looks like they have feather stubs and not full feathers. Berna says, sounds like molting. It could be, but they're only 3-week-old birds. I doubt they're molting yet, but it's possible, I suppose. I would look at your protein level in your feed. It takes a lot of protein to grow feathers, and you know, see if it's too low. Don says, let's see, I get my incandescent lamp bulbs at any of my feed stores, Rural King, $5, or Boucher, is that it? I've never heard of that feed store. Well, heat lamp bulbs, yeah, I mean, you can get heat lamp bulbs, but that'd be an awful lot to try to put in a homemade incubator. I'm talking like, you know, lower wattage. You want like 50, 60 watt bulbs or something. Sax Place says, Cindy, look at the reptile basking lamps. You can get red or white bulbs up to 150 watt. Yeah, I don't have any problem finding incandescent heat lamps. That's not an issue. It's regular light bulbs that you can't find incandescent anymore. But Verna says, Katrina, sounds like they lost their down feathers early and are starting the adult feathers. Yeah, it could be. I mean, at 3 weeks, they should be already well into that. Dawn says, my 2.5-week-olds were panting today at 82 degrees. I gave them plant saucer wading pools, and they went right in. Nice. I guess Sax Place said something and then retracted it. Oh, no. You were saying, okay, about the heat lamps, right? Yusef, good to see you, man. Says, hello, everyone. Hello to you, too. Thanks for joining. Hogwaller Creek says, Bev, I have a house in Chiefland, Florida, I think it is, and it's only had 0.14 inches of rain for April, so very dry. Interesting. Florida's usually got pretty humid weather, don't they? Usually, not super dry anyway. You usually get a lot of rain, don't you? Yusuf says, I'm happy to join the lives again. Well, we're happy to have you here. Haven't heard from you in a little while. And good to see you. Don says the same thing. You haven't been around in a long time. Nice to see you back. Sax Place says, I used a cheapo dome incubator this last time I first hatched. I used a little giant and had 52% hatch rate. Should have stayed with it. Wait. Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, you know, I've had good luck with the little giants. I usually get well over 50% hatch rate. I've had a pretty good luck with them, but you know, it varies too. A lot of that's your external environment too. I mean, how stable is the environment you've got it in? Are you seeing big fluctuations in your room temperature? That can have an effect on it. A couple of different things. Joyce says, for heating the incubator, you could use a ceramic bulb for reptiles. That's the one that Terry from Copernicus Corner suggests using for his DIY incubators. Yeah, that's a good idea, I guess. Bev Smith says to Hog, I'm just down the coast a bit from you, just north of Tampa. Thankfully, got an automated watering system installed last weekend in my raised garden beds. It makes it a little bit easier, doesn't it? Katrina says, would feeding scrambled eggs help raise protein? I'm limited on feed availability. It could. I mean, check your feed, though. I mean, it should tell on the bag what the protein percentage is. Check that first. That may not be it. It's just my first thought. And if it is low, then I mean, yeah, you could actually, I mean, you could scramble some eggs up and add that to it to help with that. Check with your feed stores. If not, if they don't have a higher protein one, see if they can order one in for you. A lot of times they can get it. They just don't know anybody wants it. Joy Guthrie says, you'll need to watch some of Terry's videos to find out what bulb you need. Well, I could do. I mean, yeah, I could watch it, I suppose. Like I said, he's got a homemade incubator, but I know he does, but I just don't know. I haven't seen it. Don says, I use the incandescent heat lamp bulbs I used on top of my brooder totes. You used it for your homemade incubator? Is that what you're saying? Because again, that seems like it does seem like those would be awful hot for a homemade incubator. Unless, I mean, because like even in my brooders, my huge brooder box, I mean, I got to lift that thing quite a ways up to keep it from overheating the brooder box and keeping it at 100 degrees. I don't know. Verna says, Chris, you are right. I think that their protein is that those chicks are eating too low a protein for their feed. Could be. I mean, that's my first thought. But again, just check and verify that first. Yusuf says, I just planted a bunch of baby salad mix in the garden, and I'm using my quail fertilizer. Well, good luck. Hopefully it goes well. Hopefully you're not using that straight off the quail because that'll probably be a little too much nitrogen and probably cause your plants to burn and not do well. But you never know. Try it and see. Bev says, our rainy season will begin in May. Yeah, we're in our rainy season right now. It's been raining a lot. Let's see. Berna says, Katrina, you could try to add some lentils and rice to their feed. Are rice high in protein? I didn't think rice were very high in protein. Desert Homestead says, hey, Chris, I hatched 2 chicks due to the 102 temp. They turned 6 weeks old on Sunday, and the female flipped on her back and started making frantic snow angels in the sand and died. Any thoughts on why? Got no idea, man. First of all, yeah, I mean, I get those kinds of questions all the time, and I wish I had an answer, but I mean, there's just so many different things that could be causing it. Who knows? Flipping on their back, flopping around like that, sounds like a neurological issue of some kind to me. My first thought would be like a head injury or something. But that's just a guess. I really don't know. It's hard. I mean, it's impossible to really know for sure. And I do remember you talking about your temp going up too high. I think we talked about that last week, maybe, but you still got 2 chicks to hatch. So, well, I guess that wasn't last week. That was a while back, probably. But so still getting 2 to hatch out of there. I mean, that's not terrible. Sorry to hear that you did lose one. I wish I could tell you, what caused the issue, but like I said, there's just too many things, too many factors. There's no way for me to know. Foster Kennel says, just wonder, I assume like chickens, you can order the chicks shipped to you, but are they getting jabbed with all sorts of vaccine garbage? Sorry, I'm rereading that to make sure I understand that. It depends on who you're getting them from. You'd have to ask them. I mean, I can't tell you if they're shooting them full of antibiotics or anything like that. You would just have to check with the seller. I really don't know. Yusuf says, to the desert, usually right before death, no matter what reason, their nerves start kicking and they go wild for about 20 seconds, and then they fully go dead. Well, there's that too. It could just be that. But why it died, I mean, it's hard to say. Foster Kennel says, but I guess people in the know incubate their own eggs, which is the way to do it. Blessings to you all from the hills of Southern Oregon. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, really incubating your own. I mean, from what I understand, and I haven't done it, quail don't ship very well. Chickens do fine, it seems like, but quail just don't seem to do very well shipping. So you usually are ordering eggs and not quail. You're actually ordering the eggs and incubating the eggs. That's usually what happens. But yeah, and I incubate all my own. So you're right. That's probably the best way to do it, honestly. Don says, I won't use any bulb I can't see working. No way to tell when they go out. Yeah, well, that's good advice. Don says, Chris, no, I use the brooder, not the incubator. It's huge, LOL. I run the lights on the brooders with ink birds to control the heat. Oh, okay. I do the same thing in my brooder box as well, but if I put the light too close, well, the ink bird's just kicking it on and off, on and off, on and off, on and off. I mean, just so fast. I mean, it's just too frequent. I've got to kind of move it far enough away to make it kind of even out so it stays on for a little while, then kicks off for a little while, and then comes back on instead of just on, off, on, off, on, off, because that'll burn the light out pretty quick. But yeah, I do the same thing. I use an ink bird to control the temperature on my brooder box. Yusuf says, liquid fertilizer, 1 part waste to 10 parts water, and I keep it brewing for 2 days, and it's good. Well, there you go. That works. George says, thankfully, it's warm enough where I live that I don't have to worry about light bulbs. I have 2 brooder plates, and they seem to do the job. Then at 3 weeks, the quail go to the coops. That's pretty much what I do. I mean, I don't use brooder plates. I just use heat light. But yeah, in the summertime, 2 to 3 weeks, they're going out. Well, about 3 weeks, they're going outside to the outside hutches. And I don't really incubate in the wintertime, so I don't worry about it too much. Sax Place says, we've been dry in Ohio. Plan on plowing the garden this weekend to get ready for planting. Well, good luck. Hopefully you have a great garden. Bev Smith says, I've used mealworms or black soldier fly larvae to increase protein. Yep, you can absolutely do that. Joy says, sounds like its heart stopped. It could be, talking about the quail that flopped on its back, flopped around, and then died. Yeah, that very well could be that. I mean, but why? Don't know. Don says, I think mealworms are high in protein. They are pretty high in protein. Katrina says, looked the brand of feed up on the internet as the bag doesn't say. It's 12.5% protein. 12.5%? That is incredibly low. What brand of feed is that? I gotta see that. That seems way too low. Verna says, to Sax Place, a lot of rain is coming in from the weekend in Ohio, depending on what area. Yep. Yeah, Verna says that's only half the protein they need each day. Yeah, that's incredibly low. Katrina says, any suggestions for higher protein feed in Minnesota? Well, I don't know. What part of Minnesota are you in? Look for a feed store, something like that you can hit up that can at least order in a decent higher protein feed. Other than that, you're probably looking at shipping it in, but that can get expensive pretty quick. And George is saying you need at least 20% protein. Yeah, I agree. About 20% is probably at least the lowest I would go. I like 25 to 29% personally. Warchild here says, hi all. Hello to you too. Good to see you. George says, quail feed is a ripoff in Australia. Really? Is it incredibly expensive? Verna says, mealworms, black soldier fly larvae, and spinach is all high in protein. Yep, I agree. It all is. Bev Smith says, I have to be careful with the spinach. Too much will leach the calcium out of the bones. Oh, good point. Yeah, but you can also do other things like look for like catfish food. It's usually pretty high protein. You could grind it up a little bit, mix it in with their feed to kind of bump the protein levels up a little bit. I wouldn't go straight catfish food, but you can mix it in to get protein levels up. Cat food even is another decent way to kind of boost up your protein levels a little bit. Ideally, though, you could just find a higher protein feed. Alan says, what about dried mealworms for protein? You could use dried mealworms for sure. You may have to kind of crush them up a little bit. The problem with feeding mealworms to young quail especially is that young quail toes look a lot like a mealworm. So if they start getting used to eating those mealworms, there's a chance they're going to start going after the feet of their other birds. Verna says, yep, Yusuf, it is a green that is high in protein and iron. Yusuf says, I guess I'll start eating spinach. You don't eat spinach? I love spinach. The Desert Homestead says the other bird is male and seems very clumsy. I think neurological due to poor hatch. I've had 26 Myshire eggs in the incubator now with extra thermometer. I'm hoping it was bad genes and temp. Yeah, I'm hoping so too. I'm betting that's probably so. Good luck with this hatch. Hopefully you have much better results. Verna says several plants are excellent sources of protein, with legumes like beans, lentils, and chickpeas being partially or particularly high in protein content. Other notable protein-rich plants include quinoa, edamame, which is soybean, right? Spinach, broccoli, and hemp seeds. There you go. Now, don't go too overboard on the vegetables. I mean, it's not bad to have some of that in there, but they also need like insect protein, animal protein. There is a difference between them. Katrina says Purina game bird feed crumbles. Really? Purina is doing 12%? Game bird feed crumbles. Got to look it up real quick. Yeah, that's what it says, 12.5%. And they say that it is a holding ration for maintaining birds in the non-production season and mature game birds that are not to be used for shooting preserves. Yeah, I would find something else. Now there is a Purina 30% starter. Tractor Supply's got it. It looks like $24.99 my area. It's not a terrible price on it. Is that a 50-pound bag? I mean, that seems awful cheap for Purina at Tractor Supply. But anyhow, try to see if you can find a feed store near you. That's going to be your best bet. Cindy Rapp wants to know what part of Minnesota you're in. That would be my question too. Joe Sandy's here, says, hey, everybody, joining late tonight, but glad to be here. Well, we're glad you're here too. Good to see you. Let's see. Gun Clinging Palin says, you catch that rabbit yet? No, that rabbit's long gone. I haven't seen it in a month and never caught it. Caught lots of other things, but never the rabbit. Andy Rabbit had a phone call, but is back now. And Katrina says, I'm in Wilmar, but travel to the cities a couple of times a month. Let's see. Wilmar? W-I. Okay, let me look that up real quick. Okay, so you've got Purina Feed. Looks like it's nearby. QC Supply. I don't know how far that is from you. I'm just looking up in Wild Bird Warehouse. I don't know where those places are near you, but looks like there's a couple of places. There's a farm service elevator. You may have to just call a couple of those places, see what they got. That would be. Let's see what we have here. If you can't find a good game bird starter too, you can also use a turkey starter. That's a pretty good substitute. George says 20 kilogram bag, which is 45 pounds of feed, is about $37, $27 US. Yeah, that's a little high. I think I pay, that's quite a bit high actually. I think I pay like $18 on the high end for a 45-pound bag, 50-pound bag, roughly. Yusuf says, my quails won't lay the whole winter and now only started 1 egg a day from 12 females. They'll kick up pretty quick. You said they won't lay the whole winter. If you're not putting lights on them, they're not going to. When the days get short, they're going to quit laying. I keep lights on mine in the wintertime, and they lay pretty much all winter long. But yeah, the days are getting longer. I mean, we're going into summer, so it's just now getting to that point where they're going to start picking up their egg production. In next couple of weeks, you'll start seeing some good production out of them. Bev Smith says, that's pretty much what I pay, George. Really? That's pretty high. Verna says you can also ground up high-protein cat food. Yep, I suggested the same thing. That's a good suggestion. Don says, if you can't get decent protein feed, I'd order from Chewy online. Pretty expensive, but that may be your only option. Yusuf says, George, just get chicken layer feed and add a little protein. Yeah, that's an option too. Joe Sandy says, my chicks are 2 weeks old today, mostly feathered except their heads. Can I get a reminder when they can go outdoors? Well, it depends a little bit on what your outdoor temperatures are. Get them acclimated to that outdoor temperature and then move them out. Usually I go about 3 weeks, and that's about the time to go ahead and move them outside. I start weaning them off the heat really about I keep them at about 100 degrees for the first week, and then I start lowering it down about 5 degrees a day for a couple of days, and then 10 degrees a day. And I just watch my birds. If they all huddle up under the heat lamp while they're a little chilly, I give them a couple of days till they start moving around pretty freely throughout the incubator, and then I lower the temperature a little bit more and give them a couple of days to get acclimated, whatever it takes. But when I get it down to where they're acclimated to what the outside temperature is or pretty close to it, then I move them outside. But usually around 3 weeks is when I do that. Yusuf says, yes, Chris, I noticed that they keep pecking each other's toes. Yeah, that's not uncommon. Joe Sandy says, I've been weaning them off the heat for a few days. Yeah, I usually get pretty aggressive with weaning them off the heat. I mean, I wean them, I turn the heat down enough to where they do start to huddle under the heat lamp, and then give them a day or two to kind of get used to that and start spreading out, and then do it again. And if I lower it 10 degrees and they're still all just spread out moving around, I lower it 10 more degrees until they start getting to where they're like looking like they're a little bit on the chilly side. Buck Reynolds says soybean meal is high in protein. Well, there's another suggestion. Cindy says ask for Homestead brand Game Bird Crumble. Crude protein is 20%. That's a little, that's not terrible. That's good. But I like it a little higher myself. But that's way better than 12%. Verna says to Joe Sandy, after a week without added heat before taking them outside, usually 3 to 4 weeks old. Yeah, almost always by 3 weeks, I've got them outside. George wants to know, where are you, Bev? In Australia as well. Don says to Joe Sandy, mine are 2.5 weeks old, and they're in an enclosed cage tonight without heat. Where are you located, though? That kind of is important, too, because we're actually getting now where it hasn't been too bad the last week. We haven't been getting down below like 60 degrees at night. But, a week ago, we were in the 40s at night. So, that's a little chilly for 2.5-week-old quail or 2-week-old quail. George says, high protein cat food for quail. Yeah, you can absolutely grind up high protein cat food. I wouldn't feed straight that, but mix it in with your feed to up the protein levels if you need to. Kentucky Green Thumb says, you are correct about the mealworms and quail toes. Yeah, it's something you need to keep an eye on. So Verna says to George, that's what I used, talking about cat food, when I couldn't get the Game Bird starter way back when, mixed it with chick feed. Yep, it's definitely an option. Don says to Joe Sandy, it will be 61 here tonight, and I know the young quail in this cage heat it up to 10 degrees more than outdoor temp. 61's not bad. That's, 3-week-old quail should be able to handle 61 degrees. In fact, 2-week-old quail should be pretty close to handling 61 degrees. Verna says George used 1 part cat food to 3 to 4 parts chick starter. Verna is taking off. She says, blessing alls, have to run to dinosaur omelet. Well, have a good evening, Verna. Thanks for joining us tonight. George says, I'll look into it today. If it works out cheaper, I'll move to that. There you go. Joe Sandy says, I have to call another, and then this week due to prolapse again. This is an ongoing depressing situation. I did some research and asking around, and apparently too high protein can cause prolapse. Really? Says, I know that goes against your experience, Chris. This is so confusing to me. I'm using 29% Game Bird starter. I use 29% Game Bird starter on pretty much all my birds, my adults. All my birds forever. I've done it. I have never had an issue with prolapse ever. So I mean, maybe it can cause it. I don't know. I don't know if there's some kind of genetic thing that makes them more prone to it. What's your calcium level? I'm kind of curious on that too. Um, we'll see if you can respond to that. Maybe, I mean, I would think, and I don't know this for sure. I'm just thinking like if you have too high a calcium, it can cause thicker eggshells, and it may make it a little bit harder for the birds to lay the eggs, therefore causing the prolapse. I don't know. I mean, and maybe there's some. Try lowering your protein. Try getting a little bit lower protein feed, or mix two feeds together to lower your protein a little bit. Get it down 20%. See if that fixes your problem. I guess, but I've never had that issue. Bev Smith says, I'm in. Oh, wait, I missed one, didn't I? Bushman says, good day, y'all. Greetings from New Zealand. Good to see you. Thank you for joining. Bev Smith says, I'm in Florida. Okay, so that does make assistance a difference. Joe Sandy says, I'm in Michigan. Nights are in the 40s. So, yeah, that's a little on the cool side. Bev Smith says, and I must mean my chicks are moved out to the quail cottage between 2 to 3 weeks. Oh, and I must be mean. There we go. My chicks are moved out to the quail cottage between 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah, that's not bad. That's about when I do it. Sax Place says soybean meal is 45 to 50% protein. Be careful with it. Mixed it with our turkey starter to pack on the pounds fast. Well, there you go. So Dawn says to Joe Sandy, good to know. I use that until they lay their first egg. Then I switch to 15 to 20% egg layer crumble. Interesting. Life Done Cheap with Lee says, how do you feel about planting sunchokes or Jerusalem artichokes? I'm thinking about growing them this year, and I don't know much about them. I don't know a whole lot about them either. I mean, I'm familiar with them. I've heard of them. I know they're a perennial, kind of similar to like a potato, aren't they? But I don't really know a whole lot about them. I don't know if I like them or not. I don't have feelings one way or the other about planting them or not planting them. I just haven't done it. I don't know. Bushman says, I lost 2 hens because they were trying to lay their eggs sideways out of their back sides. No idea why that happened. No, I've never had that issue. I'm not sure what could be causing that. Wish I could tell you. Let's see. Brandy says, I'm trying to locate quails that are hatched. Do you know who has some in stock? I don't right offhand. Check Craigslist in your area and see if somebody's selling them. Usually there's almost always somebody selling quail on Craigslist, but that would be my best suggestion. Try to find somebody local to you that you can go pick them up instead of worrying about trying to order them and have them shipped in to you, because they don't really do well shipped, from my understanding. Andy Rabbit says, Life Done Cheap. I've heard that they are hard to get rid of them if you don't want them anymore, so I think I would try them in a pot or bucket before putting them in the yard. Well, that's probably not a terrible suggestion. You don't want to plant something you can't get rid of, right? Of course, you could also just plant them in a place where you can mow them if you don't want them around anymore. That's what I do with my mint. Everybody says don't plant mint near your garden because it'll take over. It's, you don't really want to plant mint. It's crazy. It's hard to get rid of. I just mow it. If it gets out in the yard, I plant it right next to I don't even like mint all that much, but I grow a little bit of it. It's good for some things. But I plant it right next to my deck, and if I just mow it when I mow, and it's no big deal. Scrap 5000 says, woohoo, I finally made it back. What's up, y'all? Greetings from New York City. Smash the like button. Hey, good to see you again, Scrap. Thanks for joining us tonight. I appreciate that. George says, eggs are sideways. Is that a Kiwi thing with a smiley face? It might be. George Kaiser says, Jerusalem artichokes are great, taste great, and grow like weeds. I recommend. I may have to look into them at some point. I don't know. Bushman says, strangest thing, George, I've never had it happen before. I've never had it happen either. I don't know what would cause that. Life Done Cheap says, let's see, Andy Rabbit, I heard that about them. I was going to do them in a small garden box I made. Well, that's probably a good place to start. And Brandy says, "Oh, cool, thank you. I didn't think about that. What did I say? Oh, checking locally for your quail. Yep. Yeah, that would be a good place to check. Hopefully you find some." Scott 5000 says, "Chris, did you plant tomatoes yet? Meant to send you seeds from Italian ones from town in Naples, but my dad was in the hospital for a while. He's much better now, though." Oh, I'm glad to hear he's better. Sorry to hear that. No, I have not planted. I didn't start any seeds this year. I'm going to take the garden kind of easy this year, probably not do much of anything. I might plant 1 or 2 tomatoes. I'll probably just go buy a couple and let the ground kind of rest this year, I think. I'm kind of lazy and kind of just need to give it a break, I think. So multiple reasons why. But I have not planted any. And thank you for thinking of me. I appreciate it. But no worries, man. If you don't send any, it's all good. Don says to Scrap 5000, "I've heard those tomatoes from Naples. I bet he would like them." I bet I would. I can't remember. Are they a paste tomato or are they a slicer? I don't remember. Anyway, Don says, "I need to plant mint in the yard. I kill it in the bucket." Yeah. George says, "If you have a dedicated bed for them, life done cheap with Lee, they're good to grow." Talking about the Jerusalem artichoke, right? So much joy, says, "Hello, everyone. Oh, my, I'm late in getting here tonight." Well, we got like 9 minutes left, so you're not too late. It's all good. And George Kaiser says he likes your name. So much joy. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good handle, right? And we're at the end of the comments. Nothing coming through all of a sudden. And again, this is a part of the broadcast where I always say I should have something planned out to talk about, but I don't. I never do. I never have anything prepared. Let's see, nothing too exciting happened this week. Scrap 5000 says, "Chris, the tomatoes are Croveries variety," I guess that's how you pronounce that, "which are great both for salads and for making sauce." Nice. Sounds like a good one. Don says, "I have mint ready to plant. I need to find a spot." Scrap 5000 says, "Chris, he has risen." He has for sure. I agree. So much joy says, "My doe kindled for her first litter on Monday. 6 kits, lost the runt. Maybe another. He's too thin. A bit worried, but I know it happens." It does, unfortunately, with 6. I would kind of expect her to be able to handle pretty much all of those, no problem. But like you said, you got a runt, so sometimes there's not much you can do with those. Luckily, my doe, all her babies are still going. Even the runt made it, so they're all still doing well. George says today is Anzac Day. I don't know what that is. It's to commemorate the Gallipoli landings. Is that it? Gallipoli landings in Turkey in World War I. A dedicated public holiday. Interesting. Joe Sandy says, "Well, I got my first rabbit scratches from our New Holland Lop rabbit. Ouch." That's all I can say. Yeah, those back legs, when they get to kicking, boy, they can, I mean, it doesn't matter what kind of rabbit, right? They can really do some damage, actually. It's, yeah, my pronunciation's so funny. I know. It's terrible, isn't it? I don't know how to pronounce any of that stuff. I don't know what it's called. Andy Rabbit says, "Mint is great in a pot. It dies out in winter. Perfect, in my opinion." Oh, okay. Jacob says, "Turkey season finally opens here in Ontario tomorrow at 7 a.m. I won't be able to sleep tonight. LOL." Well, good luck. Hopefully you have a better turkey hunt than I did on Monday, our opening day of turkey season. Didn't hear or see a single bird. Let's see. Sax Place says, "George Kaiser, we have a town called, is it Gallipolis? I don't know what it is." Andy says, "How are your baby rabbits, Chris?" They're doing great. They're, not super big right now. They're still pretty small, but they're all doing fine. Joe Sandy says, "I guess I don't know how to properly pick him up. That's new to me." George says, "And I'd expect you to pronounce it properly, Sax Place." Yeah, so whenever I pick up the rabbits, now your Holland Lop's probably a little easier to handle. They tend to be more of a pet breed, a little bit more, docile and stuff. But when I pick my rabbits up, I always grab them by the back of the neck, right behind the head. I don't pick them up like that, but I grab them by that, put my hand on their backside, and then kind of pick them up like that, kind of folded up on themselves, if that makes sense. That's how I pick them up. But I'm also not like snuggling them or anything like that. And you may not have to do that. So Much Joy says, is there anything I should be doing for my doe? It's a bit worrisome that I have lost 2 kits now this week. Is it because it's her first litter? That's probably has a lot to do with it. There's not really anything special you should be doing for your doe, as long as you've got access to food all the time and access to water all the time. That's about it. First time moms, sometimes it takes them a little while to get into the swing of things. I wouldn't worry about it too much. And, she should pick back up. It should be okay. Buck says, I had 9 does that had babies this week and 8 more to go. Good grief, that's a lot of rabbits. I don't know. That's too many for me. But good luck. Hopefully they all do well. Jacob says, here in Canada, we still have some snow in some patches of the woods, and we see how that affects the toms. What a winter to remember. Snowbanks higher than the top of the truck. Wow, that sounds like a lot. So Much Joy says, thanks, Chris. Well, you're absolutely welcome. How are we doing on time here? We got 4 minutes left. What else we need to get in 4 minutes? We're at the end of the chat again. Nothing coming through. Let's see what happened this week. Other than terrible turkey hunting, not a whole lot. Joe Sandy says, Buck, that's a lot of rabbits. Yeah, that's a whole lot of rabbits. I can't imagine the feed bill. Joe Sandy says, do you sell them or do they go to the freezer? Good question. I'm assuming you sell some of them. I mean, that's a whole lot to just produce for meat. But So Much Joy says, anything I should make sure to feed the bunnies as they grow, alfalfa or something extra? Honestly, pellets is all they need. If you're feeding a commercial rabbit feed, all they need is pellets. If you want to give them hay and stuff like that, you can do that. But if you want the absolute fastest grow out rate, nothing but pellets. That's going to be the best bet you can get. Old Colony Garden says, good night, everyone. Well, good night to you, too. Buck says, I sell to restaurants. Oh, okay. That would be a good reason to have that many then. Andy Rabbit says, I got a new puppy. I'm going to try to get him on a raw diet. Yeah, well, we've switched our dog over to the raw diet. Of course, you probably already know that, to a raw diet. So, yeah, when you say try to do it, I mean, just do it, I guess. That would be it. Desert Homestead says, So Much Joy says, okay, thank you. No problem. You're absolutely welcome. Desert Homestead says, what is all this rain and snow stuff you're talking about, LL? We already hit 100 plus degrees a few weeks ago. Yeah, well, give it time. Joe Sandy says, Buck, okay, that makes sense. Is there a big market for that? Well, there must be big enough. I mean, if you have that many, right? Andy Rabbit says, I could not get my last one to eat raw anything but carrots. Really? My dog loves raw food. Loves it. You can look also for like slightly cooked stuff like that Fresh Pet, feed at Walmart. It's actually not terribly priced. So you could do that if you need to try to transition them over to a raw, but I have not had any problems. Bev Smith says, I can't breed enough quail to go 100% raw for my 6 dogs. I do half home cooked and half raw. Bev Smith says, Fresh Pet is good. I use for treats. Yeah, and it's fairly decently priced. I looked at it. It's like roughly $3 a pound, I think, something like that. And I can, about the cheapest I can do raw for is about $2.80 or $2.90 a pound if I get a good deal on like some hamburger or something like that. Or if I feed pork. I don't feed pork often, but I do occasionally. Buck Reynolds says, you got to have them processed at a USDA processor. Yeah, I knew that, but if you were doing that many of them, it makes it worth it probably. Joy says, my son got his turkey on opening day. Well, awesome. I haven't shot a turkey in about 10 years almost. It's been forever. My cousin and I take turns. It's been 6 years since he got his turkey. We don't have a ton of turkey where we hunt, so we don't see one. I mean, most years we at least hear one or see one, but we don't get them in gun, range very often. All right, guys, 8 o'clock. I'm going to have to wrap this one up. So thank you guys for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. We'll see you guys. Should see you guys next Thursday. I don't have any reason why I shouldn't be here. And as always, God bless. We'll see you later. Take care.